Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. So every day I'm going to bringing for you the finest lectures from English language and English grammar and topics which are related to English. And today also I brought for you the finest lecture on a grammar topic. It's half continuation with yesterday's lecture voices. So let me have a quick recap on voices. Now, voices are two types. They are active voice and passive voice. Active voice is a sentence, and the action is denoted by the subject. The subject and the doer and the agent of an action is one. Such a sentence is called active voice. Let's just we can give one good example is that Rama kills Ravana, or Rama killed Ravana. Rama will kill Ravana is also one of the example for that, because simple present tense, simple past tense and simple future tense. These are the three examples for that, present, past and future examples. Okay, in detail we are going to learn about all these tenses, how we can able to convert active and voices into passive voice and passive into active voice. Before that, just let me conclude even what is passive voice and how we can able to define passive voice. Passive voice is the action which is done by the subject and denoted by the object. Such sentence is called passive voice. Here Ravana was killed by Rama, but actually the work is done by Rama, but it is given in the sentence, the priority has given to objective Ravana. Ravana is denoting the work. So here the verb is in passive form. Instead of writing killed, we have written it is as was killed. So this is called passivization, passive form. So when we are translating or converting any of the sentence from active voice to passive voice, we can able to see four changes are there. Those are the changes in the places of subject and object. Subject will be active part, active playing active role in active voice, but then passive voice object is playing active role, and the verb is in passive form. Right, 1 2, these are the three changes. Then after B form is used, appropriate B form depends on the context, sentence, depends on tense. We can able to bring a change even in a verb, and verb should be always past participle form. Then preposition, in 90 cases preposition is used by a preposition is used, and here is also one of the example which is translated from active voice to passive voice. Rama killed Ravana, and it can be translated in passive voice as Ravana was killed by Rama. The formula for active voice is subject-less verb 2 plus object, or subject-less verb 1 plus object. That's active voice. And then when we are converting it into passive voice, the pattern of the sentence is objectless B plus verb 3 plus by plus subject. That's a passive form. So when we are coming to the change of active voice into passive voice, what can be changed from active voice to passive voice? What are the exact sentences that we can able to translate from active voice to passive voice? Here is a list of all those sentences which can be transformed from active voice to passive voice. See, all the tenses can be transformed from active voice to passive voice, like exact four tenses like present perfect continuous, past perfect continuous, future continuous and future perfect continuous. Except these tenses, all the tenses have active and passive forms, but all these All these four sentences have only active forms, no passive forms for these. Then all the assertive sentences can be translated from active voice to passive voice, or vice versa from passive voice to active voice also. And all the imperative sentences can be transformed from transferred from active voice to passive voice, and all the interrogative sentences to change from active voice to passive voice. Even double object, some of the sentences possess double objects. Two objects can be seen in some of the sentences. Those sentences can also be changed from active voice to passive voice. And irrespective of tense, some of the sentences can be written based on modals. Those can also transferred from active voice to passive voice. In detail, just we are getting into tenses, how tenses can be transferred from active voice to passive voice. And before going to learn about that, here that we have a glance how the subject part can be changed from active voice to passive voice. Here, if you see the words, pronouns I in active form can be changed as me in passive form. The active form of we can be changed as in passive form. And a similar way, you is same as you, but he will be him, she, her, it remains as it, they as them. These are the personal pronouns which are changing from active form to passive voice. I as we as I as me, we as us, you remains as you, he as him, she as her, it as it, they as them. So when we are translating the sentences from active voice to passive voice, let me go with one of the first tense, simple present tense. How simple present tense can be changed from active voice to passive voice. Here one principle has given here, subject plus verb is. When the subject is plural, bare verb is used. When the verb is singular form, like if the subject is singular, verb carries is. If the subject is plural, the verb is bare verb, like come, go, talk, walk. These are plural verbs. So that is the agreement between subject and verb agreement. If the subject is plural, verb is always plural. If the subject is singular, verb is also singular. That is the agreement. Here, passive voice, we can able to bring a change, like subject plus verb 1 plus object. In passive form, object plus am, is, are plus verb 3, then preposition plus subject. So one good example is given here. Here, Ram writes a letter. This is active form, simple present tense. When we are changing the sentence into passive form, we should start the sentence with a letter, because a letter is the object. So a letter is written. See, letter is singular, so we are using is. Instead of a letter, if it is letters, for example, Rama writes letters, the passivization of it is letters are written by Ram. So that is the change. If the subject is plural, we need to use plural be form. if the subject or whether it is object, whichever, depends on the agreement between subject and verb is agreement. Depends on the agreement, we need to make the change in verb pattern. So in such a way, like for example, I play cricket. I is singular, play cricket. Cricket is the object, so it will be becoming subject. So we need to start with subject, object. Cricket is singular. Cricket is played by I. Instead of I, write passive form of it, by me. Then in a similar way, how we can able to translate simple past tense into passive voice. Simple past tense pattern is subject verb to, means past verb. For example, come, came, go, went, talk, talked, walk, walked, speak, spoke. All the second verbs are all past verbs, and it's written as mentioned as verb to. Second form of verb, past form of the verb. Then when we are translating it into passive voice, when we are changing into passive voice, object plus be plus verb 3 plus preposition by plus subject. We could not forget the agreement between subject and verb. Never we forget. Always we need to follow this rule. There is an agreement between subject and verb every time. So most of the time in entrance examinations also, we need to focus on grammar. If we are getting a question on grammar, we need to concentrate on 90% questions are based on agreement between subject and verb. That is, if the subject is in singular, the subject is singular, verb is also singular. The verb is plural, the subject is plural, verb is also plural. For example, they is a plural form. They are going to college. They are is plural verb, plural be form. For pluralizations, we use are. They are, we are, students are, children are. Okay. People were, people have, students have, colleges have. Like these are the plural subjects. Some of like colleges, people, students, boys, girls, teachers, women, men. Like these are all plural subjects. Whenever we are getting plural subject, we need to use, if it is used a plural be form like are, were, have, and all the remaining other cases like had is both singular and plural. But in future tense doesn't bother about whether it is singular or plural. It is a different case. When it comes up, we're going to discuss about that in our further learning. Like here, that is the agreement. If the subject is singular, use singular verb. If the subject is plural, use plural verb. Right. Rama goes to college. Rama is singular. Goes is singular. That's the reason. Go carries SRES. Rama goes to college. Rama talks to Rani. Rama talks to Rani. Like that is how the agreement between the subject and verb. If we just concentrate on that agreement 100%, you can able to crack most of the entrance examinations questions based on grammar or related with English. And here, subject, simple past tense, subject plus verb 2 plus object. It can be transferred, it can change into passive voice as object plus be. That be is in past, was are verb, was singular, were plural, and third form of the verb, that is past participle form of the verb. So one example which we wrote we mentioned above already. Rama wrote a letter. Right past tense, wrote. Rama wrote letters. These are the two sentences because I want to choose both the singular and as well as plural. Rama wrote a letter. Rama wrote letters. Just letter, letters. And how it is changing in passive form. Letters, a letter was written by Rama. This is one. If it is letters, letters were written by Ram or Rama. So depends on the subject part. We need to write the be form. Letters were, letter was. That is the change. Please observe the change. And here, how simple future can be changed from passive voice to active voice to passive voice. Simple future is a tense which denotes future action. Subject plus shall by, shall or will plus verb 1 plus object. That is the basic form of principle of a simple future. And here shall can be used except will can be used except I and we. For the first person we need to use will. For remaining all we need to use will. Will can be used to he, she, it, they or any other subject. But shall can be used only for I and we. If we can able to use he shall, but it is more intensified. The intensity of the happening of work, it is indicating. It is more. The probability of happening is more in this case. So that is the difference we can able to find if we are changing will or shall. And here the passive form of a simple future is object plus shall or will plus be. We could not use any other am, is, or was, were, have, had. Like just use be only. Verb 3 and preposition and object. In the same example, Rama will write a letter. Rama will write a letter. Here, will, shall are not indicating any singular or plural, both, but only depends on subject case. For all the first persons, use shall. For second and third persons, use will. Okay, and here Rama will write a letter is the passive form. And Rama will write letters is also one, but objective plural. Here, when we are translating it, sorry, when we are changing the sentence from active voice to passive voice, so start with letter or letters. A letter will be, I said be form. A letter will be, write, wrote is past, verb 3 is written. A letter will be written by Rama. A letter will be written by Ram or Rama. Letters will be written by Rama is also one example, but doesn't see any change between letters. Then if we move further, how present continuous, just simple past tense, simple future tense, simple present tense, how they were changed from active age to passive as we have seen. Here when we coming to continuous, present continuous and past continuous have only passive forms, but no future or continuous tense do not has any passive form. Here when we are writing a present continuous tense, subject plus am, is, are the verb forms. Am is used before I, is used to singular subjects, and for plural subjects we are using are. And verb plus ing, talk, talking, walk, walking, speak, speaking, write, writing. Okay, then plus object, when it is changed into passive voice, object plus am, is, are plus being, because when we are writing in passive voice every time verb should be in past participle. So here continuity of the verb is missing, so we are using being. Then verb 3 plus preposition plus subject. So the good example is Rama is writing a letter. Rama is writing letters. Letters. So how we can able to change it into passive voice? A letter is being written by Rama. Letters are being written by Rama. This is a passive voice. Then when we are writing the past continuous tense, past continuous is subject, was, verb. Was is singular, verb is plural. Verb 1 plus ing plus object is the principle for past continuous. So when we are changing it into passive voice, object plus was, were plus being plus verb 3 plus preposition plus object. The example for this one is Rama was writing a letter. Rama was writing letters. These are the two examples. So a letter was being written by Rama. Letters were being written by Rama. This is the passive form. In the similar way, how we can able to change present perfect tense into passive voice. The present perfect tense has the modal structure subject plus have or has plus verb 3 plus object. So when we are writing it in passive form, subject object plus have or has plus been plus verb 3 plus preposition plus object. Here has is singular, have is plural form. The example is Rama has written a letter. Rama has written letters. These are the two examples. When we are translating it into passive voice, letters have been written by Rama, or a letter has been written by Rama. So in cases we can able to see vice versa also. For example, children have played cricket. Cricket has been played by children. Here it depends on both sides. If it is plural, we can use have in both cases. If the subject is plural, we can use have first. If the object is singular, we can use only has. If it is plural, have. Like vice versa, we can able to see such a change. You can just identify here. Then again, how present perfect tense can be changed from active voice to passive voice. Present perfect tense has the principle subject plus had. It is both singular as well as plural. Subject plus had plus verb 3 plus object. Then it can be transferred into passive voice. When we change into passive voice, object plus had plus been plus verb 3 plus preposition plus subject. So the good example for that one, Rama had written a letter. Rama had written letters. A letter had been written by Rama. Letters had been written by Rama. This is like, then coming to future perfect tense. Future perfect tense can also be changed from active voice to passive voice. The future perfect tense pattern is subject plus shall by will or shall or will have, use only have, whether it is singular or plural. Have verb 3 plus object. The passive form formula is object plus will by shall plus have plus been plus verb 3 plus preposition, that means by plus subject. The example is Rama will have written a letter. A letter will have been written by Ram or Rama. One more example, Rama will have written letters. Letters will have been written by Rama. And like in such a way we can able to change the sentence into passive voice. And here all these tenses whichever we transfer, like almost all 8 tenses have negative sentences also, negative forms also have negatives. So all the negative forms can also be changed into passive voice. For example, here let me go with 1-2 examples here. Simple present tense negative sentence. For example, Rama writes a letter. Rama does not write letter will be the negative one. Some cases, interrogative sentences are also there. Does Rama write a letter? So exactly the pattern is same. Use only negative one. For example, Rama does not write a letter. The passivization letters letter does not written by Rama. See, the example is Rama writes a letter is passive, positive form. The negative form of it is Rama does not write a letter. So here the pattern for this one is a letter does not written by Rama. So here instead of adding s or es to verb, directly we are showing it with a auxiliary helping verb. Does not. Okay, does not is singular, do not is plural. Then in a similar way, Rama did not write letter. Remember, whenever we are using past B form, did, we could not use past form of the verb, just present form of the verb. Rama did not write a letter. A letter it is did. How we can able to change this did is exactly Rama did not a letter was not written by Rama. A letter is not written by Rama. See, because we cannot change did into some other form, like it's good enough. Then here, in a similar way, Rama is not writing a letter. A letter is not being written by Rama. Rama was not writing a letter. A letter was not being written by Ram. And the other examples, Rama had not written a letter. A letter had not written by Ram. And here, Rama will not have written a letter. Rama will not have been written. A letter will not have been written by Ram. Like this is the negative form of the all these 8 tenses active to passive forms. Even sometimes we have instead of negative we can write some of interrogative forms are also there. Had Rama written a letter? Had Rama written a letter? Had a letter been written by Rama or Ram? Like that will be the interrogative one. If it is possible, and for the coming classes we are going to learn about all these interrogative sentences also. Like here in a forthcoming lecture, let me get you negative sentences and interrogative sentence, and how double object sentences can be changed from active to passive voice, and how imperative sentences can be changed from positive to negative, and some other like modal auxiliary sentences can be changed, and how if we have ought, dare, need auxiliaries, how these can be changed from active voice to passive voice, that we'll be coming to know in our next class. Thank you for watching my YouTube channel. If you like, click on bell icon and subscribe my channel.